After the June 9th reveal of Battlefield 2042, they've been drip-feeding information in order to keep interest high before EA Play Live on July 22nd. But what they've done today is released a new Q&A to provide more clarification and information on the details that they've already provided, and that's what they're going to go through today. They've looked at various different questions and unanswered bits of information that people aren't sure about, and they've expanded on them just to prepare the way for what will happen in a week. Now, we'll be covering EA Play on July the 22nd, so stay tuned for that. But for now, what we've got is this. First up, they talk about the specialist system. Now, each specialist will have their own specialty and trait. Specialties are things like the wingsuit and the grappling hook that you've seen in previous trailers. Meanwhile, traits are more sort of special bonuses, such as being able to revive your squad at full health. The squad revive is also making a comeback from previous games, where you can revive members of your own squad, but these won't be at full health. They'll be significantly less. So this could be quite an advantage, especially if you're in the middle of a firefight. Also, they've essentially removed class restrictions, so this means that any specialist is able to use any weapon and equipment. So you can have a sniper with a rocket launcher, or a sniper with a med bag, an engineer with ammo box. It all seems very interesting, especially when there's going to be situations where you can now specifically spec for. And on the surface, I like this. I like this in theory and what they were thinking in the room. I'm just not sure they understand players. While I would love the Bushwalkies to be sitting on a hill with sort of a lock-on AA rocket launcher or help me deal with the tanks on the ground, I know full well all this is going to lead is a load of people on a hill with med boxes and ammo boxes. They're not going to be helping at all. Yes, I think one of the biggest problems with game design might be understanding how players will take advantage of the system, and when we play this, I think that might be one of the issues with this new system. So while no one is locked out from using rocket launchers, these do share the same selector as med box and ammo box. So there will be some trade-offs to choose as you go there. So although they've technically removed classes, you'll still have to make a lot of the same choices that you did before. Now, it does confirm that squads will remain at the normal number of 4 players, but it says that in Conquest and Breakthrough, squads can contain more than one unique specialist. So if you want a full squad of wingsuits, you can do that. But it specifically says in Conquest and Breakthrough, and we know other modes are coming, including one mode which will only be announced on July 22nd. So the fact that they've specifically named those modes, to me, implies that in the other modes, you will be forced to have a limited number or even a unique specialist per squad. And the reasons behind that at the moment we don't know, but I'm interested to find out their sort of design decision behind that. They confirm that specialists will have their own unique skills, so everyone won't end up looking the same. And although I think this can drastically influence the fact that you still need to be able to know that when you're looking at someone on a roof, they're the person with a wingsuit. You should be able to identify the specialist. But I'm all for cosmetics and skins, and so I think overall the trade-off is a good one, and everybody will eventually learn what the skins are for the characters anyway. Now, the interesting thing is that the Ranger dog that we all saw in the reveal isn't going to be a specialty or a trait. This is something that everyone has access to, and it's part of the new vehicle call-down system. This is where you can, although yes, you can spawn in on certain vehicles as you could before, you can now call in vehicles anywhere on the map, and this is part of that. Each team will have a certain number of vehicle points which they have access to, and anyone on that map can then use those points to call in the sort of vehicles that they desire. I'm not sure what the limits will be when it comes to how many tanks you can have, or whether these will be just timed restrictions before you can choose them, but they have said that each individual will have their own individual cooldown. So if you've just called in a tank, for instance, you will then have to wait a while before you can call in any other vehicle after that. It says that this is so that people can all get their own share of the points, rather than just one person repeatedly spawning a jet and crashing it and destroying the entire vehicle pool. But I'm more interested on the map limits, as if there's just too many vehicles, it can get very oppressive. There does need to be a certain amount of vehicles that come in and taken off the field just to maintain this correct density. Otherwise, as an infantry person, you really start to feel like food very quickly. Now, the Ranger can be given orders, including follow, protect, and it will sacrifice itself in order to save you. You can also tell it to scout out a location and just self-destruct if required. I'm assuming this does damage to the people in the surroundings, and they've confirmed that you can strap C4 to it and blow it up as well, so all of those people that like the buggy charges that we used to have before, this is for you, or the quad bike charges rather. And apparently the Ranger isn't that strong. It is lightly armored, meant for anti-infantry combat. It can easily be knocked out by enemy fire explosives or EMPs. Now, considering it looks like a strong tank, making it very vulnerable to bullets is a bit weird to me, but I think it's probably for the best. Now, we know that at launch there will be 7 maps in total, and this seems incredibly low. But they have said that each of those maps will be larger than other maps by a significant margin. And this is why they've moved on to a new form of capture base, focusing on clustering and sectors. Essentially, it seems that because of the sheer number of players on the map, they expanded them all just to fit 128 players on them, and then they had to come up with a better way of flowing people through the map. So they focused on clusters, whereas before you just have one flag in an area and then you would move off to another area. Now each area is almost its own map combined onto a larger field, so that you have multiple places to cap in each area. And I think it's safe to assume that each of those will essentially feel like its own map, just on a larger battlefield. And so when you take one base in a cluster, one flag in a cluster, you will then stay within that and move on to the others to capture all of them before moving on to the next location. To me, it sounds very similar to the sort of map we've got in Warzone, where they got a load of maps and just put them together with connecting roads and landscape. And so I think, given what we've seen with the Warzone map, I think this can work well, especially as Battlefield is more vehicle-focused, and now you can call them in from anywhere. You're less likely just to get stuck in the middle of nowhere, which is what can happen in Warzone. A lot of the time I do just feel like I'm running from one sector to another, which really takes you out of the action. Also, different modes that are available will actually use the 7 maps that we've got, but they may only focus on a specific section of them. So I'm assuming that they designed the large maps with that in mind. I do think that areas of a map have to be specifically designed for a reason for it to be the best that it can be. Now, whether they did that in this and then combined them all afterwards, or whether they combined the maps first and split them off afterwards for all the different modes, I think that will make a big difference to how they feel during the play. But that is, unfortunately, something we'll only know when we actually get our hands on them. Now, for console players, PC and the new generation consoles will all be on 128 players, and Xbox One and PlayStation 4 will be on what they've been used to in the previous games of 64 players. Everything else will be the same when it comes to vehicles, weapons, specialists, and gadgets. They'll still have the weather events and environmental hazards and all that kind of stuff. I'm assuming that they will be on cut-down versions of the maps, though, and so depending which areas of the maps are chosen, they may be happy about that or not, depending on the overall quality of the total map. Sometimes it's better just to play on a smaller map, who knows? Skyscrapers will be similar to how they were in Battlefield 4, so you will have a lobby and a roof, and nothing in the middle. It seems like a bit of a waste for me, but I can understand their problem with it. With 128 players, as they say, if you had every single level of a huge skyscraper, it'd probably be a map on its own. So I can appreciate it, but I'm still slightly disappointed. You'll be able to access the roof via elevators and zip lines, like we saw in the trailer. But the issue with this is simply the amount of access points that you have and how easily they are to be defended. There's nothing worse than a load of snipers sitting on a roof that you can't take, and they're just raining down fire on you. Hey, I guess this is one for the helicopters, right? Something curious about the maps is, well, they said there would be 7 at launch with ongoing extras throughout the battle passes and the seasons, as you'd expect. They said that's not all they've got to share about the maps, and they will explain more about it on July 22nd at EA Play. And I don't really know what that means. If you've got 7 at launch, you've committed to a number, so you're certainly not going to say that you've got that fixed. They said we're highly excited about this one, and honestly, what I want is player-made map creation. I want map tools. I want community map tools, and the best ones go into the game. That's what I want. I want mods and map tools. If you give me that, I'll get down on my knees and make it lovely. Like, seriously, that would be the best thing they can add. I'm dubious about it. It's literally just my dream feature. But I'm very curious as what that is, because I don't know what else it could be when you've already specifically said how many maps you're going to have. I don't want to get too excited, because I'll probably just be disappointed at the end of it, so there's that. Next, they have confirmed that the US and Russians will have different military hardware, so you can expect to see different tanks and aircraft on each side. When it comes to naval vehicles, there will be a hovercraft that's being confirmed. However, they said that naval-specific warfare isn't a focus at the moment, but you can expect to see that in the future. Whether that means at launch there just will only be naval vehicles with no weapons on them, or like previous games they'll just be sort of limited with the odd minigun now and again, will remains to be seen, but either way, I've always liked hovercraft and jet skis, so if they're in the game, I'm fine. Now, AI soldiers was something that was a bit more controversial than I expected, with some people asking to opt out of being able to have bots in their servers at all. You can't do that. They're stuck there. They're part of the matchmaking to keep the server population high. They have said that they'll never take over half the server, so the only time you should really run into a place where bots actually overtake the number of players is if your server is almost empty, in which case you probably need to move on to a new one anyway. They can actually do a lot of things for bots. They can use sort of the vehicle system, they can revive you, and they can actually use vehicles. One thing they can't do is use specialist abilities, so stuff like the wingsuit, that's just beyond them. But overall, I still think it's a good idea. There'll never be a place where a player wants to join your server and the bot will take it. They just get kicked out and filtered in with players, so they really are there to top up servers more than anything else. And with the crossplay that they have confirmed for this, I don't think this will be a problem at all. Now, they have said that PC, Xbox, and PlayStation will be able to crossplay together, but these will only be the sort of the newest generation of consoles that match with PC. Xbox One and PlayStation 4 seem like they will be in their own matchmaking, which is understandable considering they'll have the smaller servers. Also, one thing that I think is great is that crossplay will be able to be turned off for every platform. Like Warzone, you can turn it off for PlayStation, but Xbox and PC can't. In this, it's all perfectly opt-out, so anyone that doesn't like it for their own reasons, player choice is always there. You can expect probably to see more bots and different servers, but you can expect probably longer matchmaking times and maybe more bots, but leave it up to the player. I think that is the best choice. Now, one side effect of having this crossplay is that they have had to push back the technical playtest. They were going to run this a lot earlier, but because so many people asked about crossplay, they have now pushed that the technical test back so that they can get crossplay implemented for that technical test. Now, this playtest will be limited and is available to people that are already signed up for the EA playtesting. This will be under NDA as well, so don't expect anyone to stream it or anything. But they will be running a beta later on, which will be more open for basically everyone to get a chance, like they've always run for all of their previous games. Cross-progression and cross-commerce is something that they're also going to do. So if you're playing on PC and move over to console, it all goes with you, and along with any skins that you've purchased on one platform, you can use everywhere. Given the sheer number of different platforms that people play on nowadays, I think this is basically required for launch, and so I'm very pleased that that's something they're implementing. And then finally, they go on to talk about penguins. Apparently they were very popular at the reveal, but really, I'm not going to go and talk about an interview about a guy who made some penguins. If you're interested in that, you can go and look it up yourself. But for now, that's it from me. If you liked the video, press like and hit subscribe for more videos in the future. Let me know what you thought down below. Are you excited for Battlefield? Are you excited for EA Play on July 22nd? I am. I will be covering it. But for now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.